Hello there, Silly Moustache here. I've just been searching for my tuning fork. For many years I had an A440 tuning fork that I carried around in my guitar case, and it would tune to that note, and so that was all the point of reference. I know one professional guitarist who still tunes using that method, just an A440, and I've been sorting out some of my stuff in my dust-covered office and discovered a load of old digital tuners, and I just thought I'd run through them for your amusement. The first one that I uncovered was one of these. It's a Sabine AX800. Now this had a sticky pad on the back, and the idea was that you stuck it on your guitar there or on the front. I remember seeing lots of adverts in magazines for these things being stuck on the front of guitars. One of these I kept by the heel on one of my Collins guitars, and it still has the scars to prove it. So what damage they did to the front of guitars, I don't know. It wasn't very bright. I don't know whether you can see the note numbers there, but a little flashing green or red light was all you got. And then we got things like this, clip-on tuners. This is the IntelliTouch PT2 tuner, and it was pretty good, and this one still works. You can see the display there, and these would go on like this, and pretty good response, pretty rapid. One of the things you do notice with some of the old digital tuners is that they took a bit of time to actually read and react to the note. But this one works quite well. The disadvantage of these were the size, and this old one that I've just found in an old toolbox shows a lot of damage by being hit by other instruments and things like that on stage, and so not an ideal thing, but they served the test of time in as much as that one still works. And then we went to slightly better clip-on tuners. This one I can remember buying when I bought a new guitar in, I think, 2008. Yeah, I think so. I was charged, I think, £35 for this. It has two different modes. You can have it as click, or you can have it as chromatic, or all sorts of other things, I don't know. But this is called an Eno ET3000. Sounds so dynamic, doesn't it? I think you can still see these for sale with lots of other different brand names on them. But something I just spotted as I got it out is that the front of this is going sticky and slowly degrading that piece of plastic on the front. So that's a bit dodgy. I also wonder if that's going, whether the rubber bits that might affect the finish on the top of your guitar might be affected. So put that back in the box. This is an Intelli Chromatic Tuner IMT600, and I love these things. I still use them, but I use them as a backstop to something else that I shall show you in a moment. This is how they work. Do take a little bit of time sometimes to read and react to the notes you're played, but I keep them in my pick boxes as a spare tuner should the battery run out on the clip-on tuner that I prefer. You've all seen my Princess Mary boxes, and these fit in there very nicely. Modes, it has chromatic, GV, not quite sure what GV it is, has calibration, so you can go off of 440 if you want to. Never bother with that, I'm stuck myself. And then of course we got these creatures, the Snark. Started seeing these on the headstocks of people at various clubs, and so I was going off to a bluegrass camp, and I was going to take my guitar and my mandolin and my dobro with me, so I ordered 3 of these. The first one I had on my guitar, and I took it off and put it on the table in the bar, and an old friend came up to me and said, "Hello Andy, long time since we've met, how are you?" Blah blah blah. "Oh, what's this?" Picked it up and scrunched it and broke the collar, and so it was made useless right away. The second one, a couple of days later, was on the headstock of my guitar like that, and it got knocked off by a banjo or something like that. So very fragile. A good reed, a good display I should say. Don't know whether you can see that. Not very bright, but it does the job. And this is the one that I tend to use when I'm changing strings and things like that. And because it's not sturdy enough for taking out, it just stays in my toolbox. It also has different modes. I do believe it has a vibrator mode, whoopee, and a mic mode. And you can go up and down on the, whether it's A440 or not, whatever that terminology is. And then they brought out another one. This one was left at my club. It's a brighter display. It's a simpler one. Doesn't have so many facilities on them. Can you see that? Not very much, but it works. So I kept it for weeks waiting for someone to come and collect it, and they didn't come back, so it's mine now. But then these things came out. The Planet Waves clip-on tuner. This is the Mark 1, bit thicker, 2 buttons. One is on and off, and the other one is for changing the frequency. And the later version, the Mark 2, slightly slimmer and a lot more buttons to press and get wrong, but they both work. I'm assured by the guys at Dario Planet Waves that the screen size is the same. I'm not absolutely convinced. I prefer the Mark 1 version because when I'm using them on a slotted headstock, the display tends to clear the tuners a little bit. But I have lately found an issue with these in as much as the little ratchet does over time tend to wear out. I tend to keep these on my headstocks all the time, so it's been affecting me less than my colleagues in the trio who tend to take their clip-ons on and off, on and off. I don't. I just leave mine on. The Mark II has an on-off switch, something for changing the frequency, and something else, microphone I guess, M for microphone. I find these good tools to work with. The only setback with these is they are more difficult to see in bright sunlight. They had their copyists, of course. So when the Mark I came out, pretty soon something called a Guitar Man appeared, and you can see it's a bit bulkier. It's got the same sort of arrangement, a same sort of ratchet arrangement, or their version of a ratchet arrangement. The display, the on-off switch is difficult to get hold of, and the display is larger but very, very basic. I've never used this. This really isn't very good. Something else that Planet Waves or Dario brought out was the sound hole one. This is the one that clips in the sound hole to some guitars. I dislike it. I've found that when it's either not on the note or has reached the note, it switches itself off, so you kind of lose contact, visual contact with it. So not a good idea for me, although I do know a couple of people that use them and like them. And then we go up to the latest acquisition. I bought one of these. It's a TC Electronics Unitune which everybody was raving about. There's a Unitune, the Polytune, and I'm not quite sure what the difference is. Yeah, it's a good functioning tuner. It was expensive, about £28. Very responsive, very quick, an easy to read display, but gawky and doesn't have a swivel, which is a big no-no for me. So you can't really keep it on. You know, it looks pretty horrible. The ideal for me would be to have a clip-on that is not visible from the front, doesn't cover up the logo, and fits perfectly well to the back of the headstock. But we await more developments. But gosh, isn't tuning up a guitar easier now than it used to be with a tuning fork? Or as I used to do once in the 70s, I used to tune up my E's by putting on a record of Canned Heat, and the first number, I think it was Going Up the Country or something like that, which had long notes of E, and that was how I tuned my guitars. How do you tune yours? Do you use digital tuners? Do you use something else? Anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that there's a better clip-on tuner out there. That's all. Thanks for watching. Bye.